All right, we're back in the back of this creek and we're targeting some isolated wood. And one of my favorite ways to do this is with a drop shot. And that gets kind of raises some eyebrows on why you see some dirtier water and isolated wood and you start thinking about drop shot and light line. And it's pretty simple for me. My idea is I want my bait to be suspended up off the bottom. And the back of these creeks, you have a lot of silt and mud. And it just seems like you really get a lot more bites if you can get your bait up out of that stuff. I don't think the fish like to use their mouth like the vacuum when they suck that bait up. It doesn't seem to really get as many bites doing that kind of stuff, like with you pitching a jig or a Texas rig worm or something. If you don't hit them right on the head, it doesn't seem like you get as many bites. And with the drop shot also, you can keep your bait right in the same spot. I can pitch to the end of this log and kind of shake my bait, and it's not coming to me. It's staying in the strike zone where the fish are staying around the log, and that's what it seems to draw the strikes in my mind. That's my go-to deal. This time of the year, fishing is a little bit tough. We're here late August, water's hot, these fish have been pressured, and I like to kind of look back in these places. These bass are a little more forgotten about. They don't get a lot of pressure. You know, everybody kind of stays out onto that main channel humps and the river ledges and that kind of thing, and these bass live back here. You can see there's plenty of bait. They live back here kind of on their world, so I like kind of coming back and trying to tap into these kind of bass. And drop shots can be one of my main ways to do it. I want to take a little time and talk to you about my drop shot setup, how I like to rig my baits and the type of equipment I use to use the drop shot. Starting off with the rod, it's a Powell Endurance. It's a 6103 medium extra fast spinning rod, 6 feet 10 inches long. As far as line goes, I use a 20-pound Gamma Torque mainline braid, and I tie that to a fluorocarbon leader, Gamma Edge fluorocarbon, 10-pound to 8-pound, depending on the water clarity what I'm using. If it's a little dirtier, I use the 10. That's what I've gone here now. And I tie a little bit longer leader to my braid than most people do. And the reason for that is I may have about a 10 feet, 12 feet range on here. That when you're breaking off with a drop shot, you're having to use, it takes so much more line by the time you're using your tag end to put your hook and that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I'd rather retie this knot a couple of times than having to retie the whole deal where you're tying the extra 6 or 8 feet onto the leader. The hook that I like using is the rebarb 1/0 hook, medium wire. I'm able to rig my bait Texas style. You know, you can also use a nose hook if you're out in more open water or you're just dropping the fish. I like that as well. But when I'm fishing around cover, I definitely want to be able to use the RoboWorm rebarb hook. It allows it to be Texas rigged weedless, throw it in brush piles, around grass, docks, etc., and maintain you not getting hung up. I ended up tying about a 10 to 12 inch leader. I use a 1/4 and a 3/8 most of the time. So every now and again I'll go to a 1/2 ounce for really deep water stuff, but I try to use like a 1/4 ounce weight, shallow water stuff, 10 feet or less. And then if I'm out fishing deeper stuff like Kentucky Lake, Pickwick, those type of places, I'll end up using the 3/8 and then a 1/2 in the heavier current situation. I really like fishing the drop shot also around a lot of shallow cover, docks, laydowns, that kind of stuff. Especially whenever you're dealing with clear water situations where you just feel it may be a little bit too clear to get by with a bigger line with a flipping stick, with a jig or a beaver style bait. That's another situation you can go to the drop shot. And that's more commonly thought about versus the shallow, dirtier water on the isolated wood stuff. But it's a player for me. It's a rod that stays in my boat and tied on all year long. And it really gets bites in all kinds of situations. I think it's my #1 deal that I go to just generate bites. And we go to so many lakes that, like on the FLW tour, where all the easy ones are caught. They're all done, so you're fishing in a lot of pressured areas. So you're having to get back in these places where fish have seen a lot of baits throughout the week. And you gotta go get some bites to get paid. At the end of the day, it's all about getting points to make it to the cup and get those paychecks that pay the bills. And for me, the drop shot is one of my go-to deals.